There are certain nights in football when you can feel history shifting, even before the final whistle blows. The air feels heavier, every touch matters more, and somewhere between the roar of the crowd and the tension on the pitch, you realize you are watching more than just a match, you are watching a transition. One era brushing against another. One star rising as another begins to fade. That was the feeling on the night Outshined on Europe's biggest stage. At the time, Ronaldinho was football's joy personified. Wearing the colors of, he had conquered Europe with a smile. A Ballon d'Or winner, a Champions League champion, a player who could embarrass defenders and make the impossible look effortless. Crowds didn't just admire him, they adored him. Even rival supporters applauded his genius. On the other side stood a younger Ronaldo, explosive, ambitious, still refining his game. He had flair, stepovers, pace that felt unfair, but he was not yet the complete goal machine the world would later witness. At that moment, Ronaldinho was the established king. Ronaldo was the challenger. The setting was a Champions League night at Old Trafford. Floodlights cutting through the Manchester sky. The type of European evening where legends are either confirmed or challenged. From kickoff, the contrast in styles was fascinating. Barcelona wanted rhythm, possession, patience. Ronaldinho drifting between lines, searching for pockets of space where he could dictate tempo. Manchester United, under Sir Alex Ferguson, demanded intensity, pressure, discipline, speed in transition. Every time Ronaldinho touched the ball, there was a ripple of anticipation. Could he flick it past a defender? Could he deliver one of those no-look passes? But United were prepared. They pressed him aggressively, closed angles quickly, refused to give him the freedom he thrived on. And then there was Ronaldo. From the first few minutes, he played with a kind of clarity that felt different. Less showmanship, more purpose. He attacked defenders directly, tested them, forced them backward. He wasn't drifting, he was hunting. Midway through the first half, the breakthrough arrived. A perfectly timed run into the box. A cross delivered with precision. Ronaldo rose between defenders, leaping higher than seemed possible, and powered a header past the goalkeeper. Old Trafford erupted. It wasn't just a goal. It was authority. Barcelona suddenly found themselves chasing the game. Ronaldinho tried to respond, dropping deeper to influence play. He attempted combinations, quick turns, flashes of invention. But United's structure suffocated space. Every time he shaped to create something magical, red shirts closed in. The match became a battle of control. And Ronaldo was at the center of it. He tracked back when necessary. He sprinted forward when counterattacks opened. He demanded the ball in decisive moments. It was maturity unfolding in real time. As minutes passed, something symbolic began to emerge. The crowd that had come to admire Ronaldinho's magic was now roaring for Ronaldo's dominance. The apprentice was no longer in awe of the master. He was competing with him. When the final whistle sounded and Manchester United secured victory, the image lingered, Ronaldo walking off with quiet confidence, Ronaldinho subdued, influence limited. It wasn't humiliation. Ronaldinho remained one of the most gifted players the sport had ever seen. But that night revealed a shift. Ronaldinho's brilliance was built on joy and spontaneity. Ronaldo's rise was built on obsession and evolution. In the seasons that followed, that difference became even clearer. Ronaldinho's form began to fluctuate. Off-field distractions whispered into headlines. Physical sharpness dipped. Meanwhile, Ronaldo intensified his dedication. Gym sessions became legendary, diet strict, recovery meticulous. The raw talent who dazzled in Lisbon years earlier had transformed into a relentless competitor. And the Champions League night felt like the preview of what was coming. By the 2007-08 season, Ronaldo was unstoppable in Europe. Goals poured in, big matches became his stage. Manchester United lifted the Champions League trophy. He claimed his first Ballon d'Or. The conversation about the world's best player had changed. Ronaldinho, meanwhile, moved on from Barcelona. His legacy secure, his peak unforgettable, but his dominance shorter than many expected. Looking back, that Old Trafford clash carries symbolic weight. It wasn't simply about a scoreline. It was about mentality. Ronaldo approached that night not as a student admiring a master, but as a competitor determined to surpass him. And that mindset would define the rest of his career. Years later, when Ronaldo joined in the rivalry with Barcelona reignited under a new generation, the echoes of that earlier encounter remained. He was no longer the rising talent. He was the established force. Dominance in football is rarely permanent. It shifts. It evolves. It depends on hunger. On that night in Manchester, hunger outpaced magic. Ronaldinho's style had once represented football's most joyful expression. But modern football was accelerating. Physicality increasing, margins shrinking, consistency becoming everything. Ronaldo adapted to that evolution faster than anyone. And Europe's biggest stage revealed it first. What makes that night unforgettable isn't just the goal. It's the symbolism. The moment when you could sense that the future had arrived. Not politely, not quietly, but decisively. Ronaldo didn't silence Ronaldinho with arrogance. He did it with performance. With movement. With timing. With impact. He didn't need tricks to outshine magic. He needed moments. And he seized them. Football fans often debate eras. They compare styles. They romanticize artistry and celebrate efficiency. But occasionally, a single match crystallizes the transition between two approaches to greatness. That was one of those matches. The night Cristiano Ronaldo outshined Ronaldinho wasn't about diminishing a legend. It was about announcing a new one. Under the floodlights of Old Trafford, in front of Europe, the rising star stepped forward and never looked back.